Dramatic turn taking place in the WeWork saga. Founder and former CEO Adam Neumann now suing the company's biggest investor, SoftBank, which took control of the company. Deidre Bosa joins us with more on that story. Deidre.
Andrew, dramatic and, of course, just the latest in this ongoing WeWork SoftBank saga. Now, Adam Neumann's complaint alleges that SoftBank, quote, doubled down on their abuse of power and argues that its deteriorating financial position influenced its decision to renege on its obligations. One, remember, that would have seen Adam Neumann receive $970 million as part of that wider bailout and other early employees cash out. The lawsuit even calls out Bosa himself, accusing the Japanese billionaire of using his influence to pressure investors. And guys, this is a very far cry from how Adam Neumann described his relationship with Bosa to me just a year and a half ago. Have a listen.
And something beautiful about Masters and my relationship is how we communicate. So if I have something I need to change or talk about, or he has something he needs to talk about, we call each other. We actually prefer face-to-face meetings. It's a real partnership. And I think the longer we know each other, the more we can build it. And Masa is one of the most visionary investors in the world. I see Masa as one of the best, or the best, high-growth investor in the world. And I'm pleased that he chose to invest in us.
Now, even then, there were still signs of a fraying relationship. Less than a month before this interview, SoftBank had reneged on another $16 billion offer for the co-working space. So, Andrew, this goes back some time, but certainly a dramatic twist.
Deidre, just in terms of the timeline of what takes place next and what we find out next in this lawsuit, we were talking the last hour about it. And it seems like discovery, going into the files to try to actually see what really happened and whether Bosa tried to actually upend some of these transactions that didn't take place, which allowed them to at least say or claim that the closing conditions didn't exist. How do you think we're going to see all of that? And it sounds like there's going to be a lot of fighting over what gets public.
Certainly, and remember that this isn't the only lawsuit. The special committee, which involved early shareholders, has also filed a lawsuit. So we'll see what comes out of this. But remember, too, WeWork is in a world of trouble this year. It said that it had $4.4 billion as of the end of this year in cash and cash equivalents. So it's got to make it through this year. It's got to make it through a recession, potentially, most likely, and being in a fight with its biggest shareholder does not bode well. And remember, too, that WeWork is part of the Vision Fund. There are many, many other companies that Bosa and SoftBank are invested in that are also having funding issues. So one of the main tenets of this argument, this complaint, is that WeWork's financial position, SoftBank's financial position led it to renege on this deal. So how that comes out will certainly be interesting.
Hey, guys, I'll ask you both this. I mean, the idea that Adam Neumann is bringing this does he just have no shame? He doesn't even recognize how ridiculous it looks to be arguing about how he didn't walk away with an additional $1 billion?
You want to take it, Deidre?
Sure, I'll certainly take that. Well, $970 million, absolutely. I think that there is so much involved in this. The source familiar with the matter tells me that $16 billion that WeWork was supposed to get back in 2018, that money, much of it had already been spent because there was a commitment. And only the eve of signing, which was December 24th, did SoftBank back out of it. So that is what a source familiar tells me what led to that ill-fated IPO. They had already spent much of that money. They had to go public in 2019, which led to a lot of the embarrassing disclosures in the S1. Absolutely. But some might argue that they might not have taken that on growth at all costs if Bosa and SoftBank hadn't said, here's $20 billion.
You made me be a bad manager?
Becky, the complicated part, I think, about this whole situation is that effectively SoftBank came in and said, we're going to rescue the company. Remember, there was potentially a competing bid, and part of the SoftBank bid was, we're going to buy out all the minority shareholders, of course, which includes Adam Neumann getting, or supposedly getting that $1 billion. They effectively now have gotten a majority control of the company without actually paying to do so, at least as part of the transaction that they agreed to. So
but you know what? That might be what it's worth. Look around. I know, but look around.
Well,
I mean, you've got L Brand's deal blowing up. I know.
Right.
But
I
even
think,
at that point, I think people would argue, how much was it worth?
What I think is this whole thing is going to rest on, though, is two things. One is how buttoned up was that contract, and I think it might have been a lot more buttoned up, or maybe as buttoned up, if not more so, than the Victoria's Secret deal. We'll see. And then the secondary component is, did Mosa's son try to do something on the other end to upend the transaction so that he could walk away? So it's a lot. There's nobody out there who's feeling
there aren't
too
too many
bad
sympathetic
for Adam Neumann,
characters
I'm sure,
here.
this morning.
Yeah.
Well, and this number gets all the headlines, $970 million for Adam Neumann. But remember, this is a $3 billion tender offer. Yes, the early investors are part of that, but others would argue that there's early WeWork employees also who are getting hit by this. And that's essentially what Adam Neumann is arguing, too, that it's not just him, it's others. And, you know, as we said, we pointed to deals in the past that have been reneged on the eve of signing.